better be in focus, you black bitch. Pharrell Williams said chords are coordinates. Music, as it were, is most adept at taking you places, taking you to somewhere, somewhen, someone. I've said this before, but when I listen to Azucar by Earl Sweatshirts, I can taste the undercooked chow mein from Panda Express on my tongue, feel the January air pinch and prickle at my skin, turning my sweat cold and dry as I trudged to work. In a way, you could argue even more than poetry and fiction, music is the most arresting medium because it, in the words of Ocean Vuong, interrupts us with intimacy. For every Black Country New Road fan, I have this question to ask. Where exactly did the place where he inserted the blade take you? Not to get too meta, but this video is probably not going to perform well. Whenever I deviate from talking about hip-hop, it's a toss-up as to whether I'll spend the next week with an inflated sense of self or thinking about switching my major to accounting. Even for big artists, my Taylor Swift video is a banger. I will die on this hill. I and the 3 people who watched it will die on this hill. And so originally, I was going to write a Billy Woods piece, but I couldn't really get an angle in there. He's enigmatic as hell. I worry Mr. Woods thinks he's Daft Punk. And then I was thinking about the ethos that these videos have slowly grown into, one that I not so subtly stole from Jacob Geller. My Mavi essay wasn't just about Mavi, it was about art's relationship to hope. My Eminem piece wasn't about Eminem, it was about how we allow bigotry. Even if I did write about Billy Woods or John Green or Zach Bryan or any of the artists I have in my list of essay ideas, what would I actually want to talk about? I did a lot of pretentious, needless soul searching, which is to say, leaving my phone turned off while playing Dragon Age, and landed on it. The reason I've spent most of my summer staring out windows and thinking about the various places and people I'll probably die before I get to meet. Yearning. And once I landed on that, well, all of a sudden, there was only really one band my fingers could type about. Black Country New Road is an experimental rock, post-punk, post-rock, art rock, klezmer, chamber pop, baroque pop. You don't know what baroque pop is? Lock in. British band that rose to genre-quaking prominence at the turn of the decade. In 2021, they released their 6-track, 40-minute debut for the first time. The album was abstract and kaleidoscopic, constantly splintering and coalescing, self-conscious in narrative, but heroic in execution. Luke Cartilage from NME said of it, "It doesn't quite sound like the product of a fully developed artistic vision. Rather, it fizzes with possibility and intrigue." And I have to agree. For the first time shows BCNR in its somewhat embryonic years. As a unit, they are unsure of where their boundaries are, so they shrug and color wildly outside the lines, resulting in a blurry, beautiful cacophony that is twice as compelling as it is unwieldy. The instrumentation is breathtaking, of course. Everyone does a little bit of everything, I suspect, but Tyler Hyde on bass, Lewis Evans on saxophone, Georgia Eller on violin, May Kershaw on keyboards, Charlie Wayne on drums, Luke Mark on guitar, all fully commit to this unremorseful onslaught of emotion and groove. But arguably, the most arresting part of this album are the writing and vocals. Let's talk about Isaac Woods. Isaac was kind of the frontman of the group. His lyrics were the perfect example of that Ocean Vuong quote I mentioned earlier. They forced you to stop what you are doing and realize that every bad thing that has ever happened to you, big or small, is as tragic as you felt it to be and is as worthy of becoming a story as anything else. Lines like, "And fuck me like you mean it this time, Isaac," and "I left my drink on the 18th floor, I thought about jumping." There's an unfiltered, almost abrasive vulnerability to his writing, but the way he sings these lines, it's like staring at a man's very interiority, that thing you've previously thought could have no shape, rubbed raw and red and throbbing, and it hurts you to watch. It reminds you how unwieldy you yourself are, but you can't look away. How could you? Something remarkable is happening. And then there was his singing. It to me was the oral equivalent of this image. A rubber band is being pulled taut, almost to the point of breaking, and some evil little imp is in there plucking away at the damn thing, and you're listening and you're scared because you swear you can hear him inching and inching closer to the point of no return, where he, and in turn you, will shatter into a million tiny little Isaacs. Of course, you never get there. You are, perhaps mournfully, forever looking over, forever gasping in astonishment, forever whole. Did I just describe edging? Isaac and the rest of the gang would come fully into their own in 2022's landmark album, what I would consider to be a modern classic, Ants From Up There. On my album of the year, it's one of only 2 albums I've given 100, stating it's an album fully convinced that unrequited love rivals the apocalypse. An album that forces you to nod in agreement, breathless. Ants From Up There is a mountain range, thrusting you to sky-riding, heart-plummeting highs with a song like Concord, then dragging you to dead-eyed, late-night drive lows with a track like Bread Song, literally back to back. But of course, the album isn't just about unrequited love. It's about what said love does to a person. It's about what yearning turns us into, what manner of men or women, or they, them, your boy is woke, we turn into when that which we seek continues to evade us, climbing further and further into the blue up above, irrespective of how many hills we tread. It's a lamentation of love, or maybe youth. The production takes the cacophony from their first album and refines it without losing any of the rawness. Woodwinds and percussions crash into each other and flowers bloom on the place where he inserted the blade. Fun fact, I didn't know this, but saxophones are woodwinds, not horns. And strings know when to keep things gradual yet precarious, like on Howlong, and they also know when to rake through your heart and soul, like in the ending of Snow Globes. And then of course, the writing. Isaac Woods wails like a man at his own funeral, gutting us with lines like, I was made to love you, can't you tell? Or, and this one echoes in me endlessly, oh, in my bed sheets now wet, of Charlie I pray to forget, all I've been forms the drone, we sing the rest. Oh, your generous loan to me, your crippling interest. And then Isaac left. In 2023, they released a collection of never-before-seen live songs in an album titled Live at Bush Hall. BCNR fans waited with clutched lungs, some curious, some terrified, all eager to see what this band would be without Isaac Woods. We all knew they would still craft breathtaking sounds. No one doubted that. But the question regarded story and what kind they would tell post-Woods. Live at Bush Hall honestly mirrors for the first time. It's an album that looks around quizzically, unconvinced of its shape, shrugging and sprinkling colors far and wide. It's rough around the edges, but I imagine the group knew that. I imagine to a certain degree this was about proving to themselves they were capable of continuing, as they put it, friends forever. The album acts as the center of a Venn diagram between what they were and what they would become. Up Song Reprise and Turbine's Pigs carry the same sky-cracking sorrow you came across with their previous tracks like Snow Globes and Howlong, but Dancers and Across the Pond Friend indicates a more, in the words of Zach Schonfield, twee future. A yearning that was less mournful and more wistful, less a rake through the heart and more abstract colors fluttering behind your eyelids. And then, 2 years later, on April 4th, they released Forever Howlong. I'm scared of the fuck. And they said black man couldn't sing. Don't piss me off, nigga. Elvis in his bitch thing now. I got boss, waiting. Hi! Oh, there it is. I'm a whole moron. I think there's something to be said about the inherent paradoxical longing that comes with being young in the year of our Lord 2025. Go on the internet and you'll be inundated with images and people and miraculous peculiarities you'll likely die before getting to encounter. Get off the internet and there is silence, an uncomfortable, permeating, nauseous reminder of the unmiraculousness of us, ceaseless, immovable, dreadful boredom. At least in the more privileged countries, to be alive today is to be constantly reminded that the nigh unnameable thing you are looking for, the source of your ennui, doesn't exist, that chasing the horizon is a fool's game. More than any BCNR project, Forever Howlong perfectly captures this. It's by no means a good thing that Isaac Woods left. I hope his mental health is in a better place now. I hope the cakes he bakes are hard as hell. But I listened to Live at Bush Hall and I still hear his ghost. I listened to Forever Howlong, and it occurs to me that I don't see him providing the same sun-soaked, melancholic serenity of the title track. It's the sonic equivalent of waking up earlier than usual. The sun hasn't quite found its way to the sky yet, and somehow, yellow streaks find their way through your blinds. Kafka, where you doing now? I got boss waiting. Franz Kafka was one of the most pivotal modernist authors. His work captures the human conditions in ways that still grip and arrest over 100 years later. Of his work, alleged genius / alleged stalker David Foster Wallace said, "No wonder they cannot appreciate the really central Kafka joke, that the horrific struggle to establish a human self results in a self whose humanity is inseparable from that horrific struggle, that our endless and impossible journey towards home is in fact our home." Imagine his stories as a kind of door, to envision us approaching and pounding on this door, increasingly hard, pounding and pounding, not just wanting admission, but needing it. We don't know what it is, but we can feel it. This total desperation to enter, pounding and ramming and kicking, that finally the door opens, and it opens outward. We've been inside what we wanted all along. Das ist komisch. No, nigga. How do you pronounce das? I'm going to... Okay, I know what to do. Google Translate. Oh, yeah? Translate them. Not Yoruba. That's racist. Das ist komisch. Bruh. I imagine I'm putting too much thought into it. I understand it's kind of my brand at this point. But I think Forever Howlong proves BCNR gets the central Kafka joke. From songs like Mary, which spins tales of a young girl living against that weird tinge of bullying that so easily passes for playfulness, Two Horses, a song about a faraway traveler who considers letting her guard down around a handsome man, only for said man to murder her horses. And then you have The Celestial for the Cold Country, a story of a knight who loses their sense of self, who might not be the best fighter or rider, but would like to be a little lighter. Forever Howlong probably isn't quite as masterful as Ants from Up There, but I appreciate it because it is far more interested in the amorphousness and diversity of a longing, as opposed to the acuteness of heartbreak and its consequences that was so thoroughly explored in their earlier releases. Like the plane Concord, often mentioned in Ants from Up There, the things we chase, things deeper and more nebulous than sheer unrequited love, will likely continue to evade us. We have been made too aware, rubbed too raw. It is a digital age. We know everything, and we realized the vague, tiny gaps in the things we know to be true are actually us, blotched out like wrong answers on a test, mistakes written in pen. As Black Country New Road put it, we've fallen in love with a fear we believe in. We sigh wistfully. We yearn, dancing like beasts towards what Kafka described as the unknown nourishment we crave. I gave the album a 91 in my review. I said, if the very concept of staring achingly out a window was turned into a musical, this would be its soundtrack. By God, if the sky split into two and we, together with our closest friends and worst enemies, had to take a road trip into the actual heavens, this would be its soundtrack. In that case, I suspect we'd all like to be a little lighter. Thank you for watching. Well, if you're not in focus, I swear. Wow, wasn't that amazing? Let me guess, you want more of Big T. No one calls me that, I apologize. Well, fret not, good person on the internet. I have a Patreon where I post written stuff and even some more video stuff. I'm not gonna look at it and tell you that the video stuff is like amazing, but it's there. It's there. Content for as low as like $2 a month. Yes, $2 a month. And if you did it, I would be very grateful that you did that. But you don't have to. But it'd be nice if you did. Okay, I'll leave now. Goodbye. Thanks for watching though.